In this video, I'm going to show you 3 tips that'll make you king of the barbecue. Hey everybody, I'm Kevin with Holy Grail Barbecue, where I teach you to cook like the pros with the latest equipment and techniques. So if you're looking to up your barbecue game, I invite you to subscribe down below. So let's jump right into tip number 1, and that's choosing the right steak. So the USDA has designated 3 different categories for beef. I'm sure you all have heard this before, but you've got prime, choice, and select. Now, prime steaks are generally served at higher end restaurants, and they also come with a pretty hefty price tag. Prime beef comes from young, well-fed beef cattle, and they're characterized by their marbleization. So now, what is marbleization? Think of a marble floor and all the different veins of color that go through it. Same thing with a steak. It's just those veins of color are actually fat. Now, don't be afraid. Fat means flavor in this case. So this is an example of a steak with moderately abundant marbling, according to the USDA. Notice the amount of marbling, but in particular, pay attention to the length of each marble strand. Here is an example of a slightly abundant steak, again, according to the USDA. Notice the amount of marbling in these. Slightly less amount and slightly less length on those strands of marble. But as you can see, it's still abundant throughout the steak. So in comparison, let's take a look at the next grade down, which is your choice steak. It has moderate, modest, or small amounts of marbling. Let's take a look. Here we have a moderate steak, a modest, and finally, we have a small amount of marbling. Finally, we have select. Now this is the lowest grade, and I always got confused between choice and select. I always remember, if you have a choice, choose choice. Choice is choice. See what I did there? So now select isn't going to have much marbling in it at all, as you can see by this picture. The amount of marbling, the amount of fat in the interconnective tissue is next to none. So that means it's going to taste very good, but it's going to be a little bit on the dry side. You have to do some different preparations. Select steaks are good for marinades, they're good for braising, or other things like that. On the grill, it might cook a little too quick and it might be a little too tough. So now, let's get to tip number 2. You need to prepare these steaks, and this requires a dry cure using ample amounts of salt. So to be honest, this is probably the easiest of the 3 steps that I'm talking about. All you're gonna do is coat this steak with salt, flip it over, and coat the other side. Let it rest for about 30 minutes on the countertop. That's it. I'm serious. It's just that simple. That's all. So now the salt is going to enhance the flavor, obviously, but it's going to enhance the beefiness as well. Is that a word? Beefiness? Can I say beefiness? The beef tones? What do I say? It enhances the beefiness. This could get into a really weird level if I'm not careful. But in addition, we're going to draw out some of that water. This is going to concentrate the flavor, but also tenderize it quite a bit. So put a really liberal layer of salt on these steaks. And I know, trust me, this seems like a lot of salt, but it's really not. We're going to rinse these things off before we throw them on the grill. All right, folks, so now these are the steaks that we got from the store just now. So my sous chef here is going to help me out. We'll slide this over so you can reach. And she knows how to do this. With the salt, we sprinkle liberally on there. That means a whole lot of it. That means like this much. Put a lot of salt on it. Good. And now, so you can reach, we'll flip over again.
So why do we put a lot of salt on it?
So this tenderizes the steak, And then it also brings out the flavor, because that's what salt does. Salt is a flavor enhancer. Salt is also one of the only substances that's going to actually penetrate into the steak. So that's one right there, perfect. Alrighty, now we're going to flip over. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Let me flip this one over too. There we go.
And now we do the same exact thing here.
Same exact thing here. I think we're done. We were just in time.
There we go.
Perfect. So that's all there is to now. Now these are about an inch thick, so about 30 minutes for every inch of thickness. If you're about an inch and a quarter, you might want to go to 45 minutes. Any more than that though, I find it has a little bit too salty of a flavor. Personal preference. Some people say go to an hour for an inch thick steak. All right folks, we're gonna land this plane on tip number 3. And that's the reverse sear. This is a must. So what is the reverse sear? Well, let me take it back a step. So on a regular sear, you put that steak on a nice hot grill and sear one side, flip it over, sear the other side, and you hope that you don't overcook the steak by leaving it there. Reverse sear is completely different. We reverse that. First, we start the steak in indirect heat. Now this is going to slowly bring that beef up to temperature. Claire Bear, we're teaching them about the reverse sear. We're going to slowly bring it up to 105 degrees. And when we hit that point, then we move it to direct heat. You can think of it like a sous vide technique, just without the water bath.
Let's get cooking.
Now take a look what we're working with here. Look what the salt cure did to the meat. First off, it darkened the color a little bit. Secondly, it brought out the marbling. And third, you can see it's tenderized the meat. This is the absolute perfect way to get a steak prepared. We're done with salt for now. We don't need to add any more salt to these steaks. Very next thing is a little bit of avocado oil, just a light coating over the top, just to prevent sticking, also to give it a nice crunchy crust on the outside. I'll trim that off. Oops, that was the same side. And we pepper. They're ready for the grill. Okay, so here's my current setup. Notice where I have the steaks. On the very outside, they're coming up to temperature. Look, the color is getting browner and browner without overcooking them. This is key. Once they come up to 105, then we'll move them to the grill grates there. So there you have it, folks. The best way to cook a steak. Now let's check for the taste. Perfect medium rare. The first thing you get is that juicy bite. The reverse sear did not lose any of the moisture. Next, you get an awesome flavor that was brought out by the salt. this is absolutely the best way to cook a steak. So do me a favor, comment below if you've tried the reverse sear. Tell me what you think of it. Do you like it? Do you like the regular type of sear? Subscribe and hit that bell icon. When the next video in this steak series comes out, you'll be notified immediately. Thanks for watching, everybody. Grill something awesome.